Hello, my name is Joyce Dzide-Tei. I'm from Ghana and I'm reading the MPhil in Development Studies at Oxford Department of International Development. And thankfully, I'm on the older DAC scholarship. Wow, you just transported me back to the morning of 14th June 2023. There was an email notification on my phone, and I remember the preview read, "Dear Joyce, many congratulations. You have been selected by ODID and St. Anthony's for the prestigious ODID DAC scholarship." But I couldn't believe my eyes, so I quickly reached for my laptop. I was like, I think my eyes are deceiving me. And there it was, an offer of £100,000 to study here for 2 years. And first of all, the week prior to this email coming in had been a very stressful one. I remember I had received one rejection letter from one of the colleges here. And the second rejection actually came from a famous organization here, name withheld. And I wasn't simply rejected. They did not even check my application. And this organization had written to me saying they had seen my Oxford application and I may be eligible, I should submit some documents. And when I reached out to them, they said the panel did not even review the application because they were no longer in a position to support 2-year master's program. But the day before this email, I had attended a webinar by the academic office, and one of the key requirements from that webinar was for us to submit a financial declaration form within 48 hours. And this was, I remember, to secure a ballot for accommodation for starters. And so, as you would imagine, I had been very stressed. I was at my wit's end, and I remember calling my pastor, Pastor Gideon Danso, Empowerment Worship Center, and he said, "Come to the church office." He was in church that afternoon. And I went there and he kept saying, "Joyce, God will make a way, God will make a way, God will make a way." And to be honest, I thought the man was out of his mind because time was not on our side. I only had 48 hours. And here he was prophesying to my life. And I'm a Bible believing Christian. I believe in the power of prayer and I trust God. But this particular evening, I just wasn't, in my faith element. So now this email comes in less than 24 hours after receiving a prophetic word, and it was simply too good to be true. I went down on my knees. I just kept saying, "Thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus." And of course, I was speechless. And then followed the tears of joy. And then I shared the news with my church. There was even a 2-week testimony. I testified in church, a 2-page long testimony, just thanking God. So for me, quite simply, this scholarship was, one, the confirmation I needed that God indeed provides for his children. He provides for the vision. That's why it's called provision. But beyond that, it was also, the assurance I needed to keep trusting God in my journey. And that when it's in his time, he makes all things beautiful. And of course, it was also that validation I needed that I was embarking on the right journey and in the right university. And so it's been just God. It was just God, and it's been God since. Yeah. To be honest, this scholarship meant the world to me, and it still does. I come from an education background. I used to be a high school teacher, and I taught students from all over Africa, very privileged students, and students from very difficult backgrounds. And in my 10 years of teaching, I watched them grow. I watched them chase their dreams, and actually taught students who came to Oxford, students who have gone to all the Ivy League schools you can think of, students who have finished their PhD, some who are currently doing their PhD. And it was that I had reached that time in my personal and professional career where I felt it was time for me to also get a master's degree, and helping other students achieve their dreams was what propelled me to apply myself. But even at the point of applying, I knew, I was like, Oxford, it sounds so unattainable, but if I've helped other people's children do it, I guess it was my time. And the scholarship for me was just that validation I needed, that it was indeed time for me to chase my dreams as well. So my research interest currently is in understanding in Ghana how climate change education is being done, and most importantly, how NGOs are facilitating that. I come from an education background, as you are now aware, but I've also worked with NGOs since 2016, and I see there's been a shift in focus from ending child marriage programs, gender-based violence, and tackling like gender equality as a whole, but more to looking at how climate change is affecting underserved communities. So my interest is in understanding how NGOs are framing the problem of climate change. Of course, climate change affects all of us. So I guess the short answer is I'm hoping to use the key learnings from my research to help NGOs better deliver development, like development for good, but also help educational institutions and youth-based organizations leverage on just, I guess, the wealth of support NGOs bring to addressing climate issues from a very youth-led angle. I always tell my friends, I did not choose St. Anthony's. St. Anthony's chose me. And I think that was one of the best things that happened to my Oxford experience. One, St. Anthony's is an all-grad college, so we don't have to deal with the excesses of having undergrads around. We're very mature. We hold very mature conversations, meaningful conversations, meaningful connections. But St. Anthony's has also felt like home. I remember the early afternoon when I walked in, it was how the porters welcomed me. It was how they dropped an extra blanket in front of my door in the middle of the night when winter winds were calling. And it's in the afternoon teas on Sundays, it's in the GCR meetings on Sunday evenings, it's in the random conversations we have in the corridor, in the library, burning the midnight oil and informals, and walking to school with friends and walking back home. Especially for my cohort, there are about 12 of us in St. Anthony's, and we have a mini WhatsApp group where like we talk about all things St. Anthony's but within our department, and that has felt very communal in that sense. And one of the things I've had to learn is in knowing when to be silent, to listen to the other person, and when to talk. And one of the things St. Anthony's has helped me realize is in the beauty of not just being a diverse college, but really cherishing and appreciating the beauty in that diversity and learning to live with difference, and also understanding that although we may not always agree on things, the beauty is in knowing that, having that self-awareness. St. Anthony's, as a teacher, I can give you only 3, right? But I'll try. St. Anthony's has felt like home. There were times I did not miss home at all, and that says a lot about just how warm and welcoming living in St. Anthony's has been. It's also been very supportive from an academic point of view, from non-academic. It's even in the sort of turnaround time with which I get responses to my needs, whether it's academic or non-academic. And it's been all in while inspiring. And it's also in the beauty of just finding beauty in every and anything around us. Well, I found my life's purpose teaching young people from across Africa from very difficult backgrounds, orphanages actually, and some from very privileged homes. And just pouring my life out into them and watching them go on to achieve their dreams is what propelled me to chase mine also. But none of this would have been possible without a generous donation from people I haven't even met. And so if you are thinking twice about supporting St. Anthony's scholarships, I would say please do not hesitate, because it does make a whole lot of difference in our lives and hopefully in future generations to come. Thank you.